The council demanded 100,000 human children as tribute. A soft genocide cloaked in diplomacy. Earth said yes with a smile. What they received wasn't submission. It was war, encoded in DNA, whispered through bedtime stories, and triggered by lullabies. They asked for our future. We gave them extinction in cribs. The Zalzari did not knock. Their ambassadors shimmered into Earth's lunar station with no warning, all crystal joints clicking and scent glands leaking phenomenal arrogance. The room chilled by 10 degrees, not from the vacuum outside, but from the disdain inside. Commander Elias Vorn stood at the edge of the long obsidian table, watching the delegation slither into place. Behind him, Earth's representatives, diplomats, generals, presidents, sat like nervous schoolchildren awaiting punishment. Vorn didn't sit. He never did when aliens were in the room. The Zalzari clicked its limbs and spoke in harmony through 6 mouths. The council offers peace. In exchange, a tribute, 100,000 of your young. Untouched. Educable. Compliant. You will deliver them within 3 cycles. The silence that followed felt engineered. Like the entire galaxy had paused to see if the species from Sol would grovel or growl. President Holloway shifted, voice unsteady. 100,000 children is unprecedented. That's council precedent is irrelevant. The Zalzari cut in. Compliance ensures protection. Refusal ensures your species will never be allowed to expand beyond your existing starline. Your colonies will be choked. Your trade forgotten. Your language lost. Vorn's jaw tensed. He had heard threats before. He had made them before. But this wasn't a negotiation. It was extermination via etiquette. Why children? He asked flatly. The Zalzari's thorax trembled. Because adults are too contaminated. Too broken by war, by emotion, by individuality. Children can be purified. Purified. There it was. The polite genocide. Vorn stepped forward. You ever seen a child starve to death during a siege? The alien blinked in a slow, calculated way. I have. Vorn continued. Have you watched them chew the leather off their boots before their lips crack open from frostbite? I have. Have you heard them sing lullabies to the corpses of their mothers just to stay sane? He tapped his temple. I've heard them. They're still in here. The room stiffened. Cameras captured every word. History was being written in real time. Vorn smiled without humor. You want 100,000 of our children? You'll have them. The alien's facial plates shifted in what might have been smug satisfaction. But understand this. Vorn added, voice dropping like a loaded weapon. What we send you will look like tribute. It will even smell like submission. But you won't see the teeth until they're already in your throat. President Holloway whispered sharply. Elias. Stand down. Vorn snapped. They're not diplomats. They're butchers in silk. The alien cocked its crystalline head. Are we to interpret this as acceptance? Vorn stepped in close enough that he could smell the sterile antiseptic reek of the alien's body, his voice a whisper designed to punch. Interpret this however you like. But when your temples burn and your gods die screaming in the minds of your children, remember who lit the match. He turned on his heel and walked out. Behind him, Earth's leaders erupted into a cacophony of panic and pleading. Vorn didn't hear it. He was already opening a secure line. Code Black, Cradlefall, he said. The line went silent for a second. Then a voice responded, calm and grave. Confirmed. Operation Cradlefall initiated. Full authorization? Full, Vorn said. I want the labs awakened. Sequence the genetics. We're going to build nightmares. Small, adorable nightmares. He stopped in front of a viewport, staring at the gray, dead curve of the moon. And tell Dr. Senna, no morality checks this time. We're out of leash. Let her off the chain. He closed the comm and stared into space for a long while. Beneath his feet, the moon rumbled with quiet thunder, engines being prepared, laboratories humming, biotanks thawing. They would expect stasis pods filled with infants. They would receive viruses wrapped in lullabies, ideologies encoded in DNA, and revenge delivered in pacifiers. He took a breath and remembered her. His daughter, Mila. She had died during the siege of Tethys Station. 6 years old. A sniper shot her through the chest while she tried to drag her teddy bear back into cover. Her body had been light. Too light. He remembered folding her fingers around a coin for the funeral rites. But it had slipped through, she was already too stiff, too small. He never cried. Not then. But now, the rage was a deep ocean, and he stood at its shore. Behind him, a junior officer ran up. Sir, confirmation from Europa. The Genesis vault has been unlocked. Good, Bourne said, not turning. Make sure the first batch are all derived from the Ash Orphan profile. The officer paled. That profile is unstable. They're not being raised, Bourne replied. They're being launched. He paused, then added, and add some of the Martian echo coding. Let's see how the Council handles religion they can't delete. The officer saluted and left, clearly eager to get out of the commander's blast radius. Alone again, Bourne whispered into the emptiness. You wanted our children. You'll wish you'd just demanded our nukes. The silence of the moon was answer enough. Far below, in secret cradles of steel and light, the first of the clones opened their eyes. The engines beneath Europa groaned like something ancient waking up angry. In subsector Theta 9, buried beneath 40 kilometers of methane ice and reinforced alloy, the lights inside the Genesis vault blinked alive for the first time in 60 years. No alarms. No sirens. Just the soft hiss of thawing coolant and the whir of neurostabilizers warming up. Along the walls, stasis pods blinked in sequence. Each one contained a child, except they weren't born. They were constructed. Not human in the biological sense, but something worse. Commander Elias Forn stood in the command gallery, arms folded as he watched row after row of engineered war clones begin their activation protocols. Each pod carried a red stripe with the designation code etched in Old Terran script, A.O-47 to A.O-100,000. Ash Orphan class. Genetically spliced from the DNA of Earth's most infamous siege survivors. Orphans forged in urban infernos, camp massacres, and orbital blockades. Every one of them had the reflexes of a killer, and the trauma of a broken nation compressed into artificial youth. Dr. Senna, gaunt and grim, approached him with a datapad. Neural mirroring complete on batches 1 through 7. They're stable, for now. Bourne didn't glance at her. No such thing as stable when you're designing gods. They're not gods, she muttered. They're children. No, he replied. They're weapons. We just gave them faces. He stepped down from the gallery and entered the central programming chamber. Monitors flickered as each clone's brainwave was scanned, mapped, encoded, and infected, deliberately, with custom-built mimetic payloads. The process was surgical. Philosophies were injected like viruses. Story fragments inserted like Trojan horses. Each child would awaken with pre-programmed myths in their bones, stories of sacrifice, betrayal, endurance, and a hunger for freedom so sharp it could cut through armor. Phase 1 will deliver them with pacified responses, Dr. Senna explained. No aggression. No awareness. Just soft instincts and empathy triggers. Phase 2? Bourne asked. She hesitated. Once proximity to a council neural grid is detected, the triggers begin cascade. Language expansion. Memory activation. Belief structuring. Full ideological ignition occurs within 90 days. And what's the payload? Her hand trembled. Contagious ideology. They won't just believe, they'll make others believe. We've modeled projected conversion rates above 80% within first-generation exposure. Bourne finally looked at her. You afraid of them? No, she said. I'm afraid of what they'll do if they succeed. We're not making allies. We're making culture bombs. Bourne didn't answer. He moved to one of the stasis pods and looked in. The child inside appeared no older than 6. Dark hair. Closed eyes. Peaceful face. A small synthetic bear gripped in one hand. Harmless. But Vorn knew what lay beneath. He leaned in, whispering softly to the glass. "You'll be the last lullaby they ever hear." The intercom crackled. "Commander, Council Relay Satellite intercepted a press bulletin. They've acknowledged our compliance. Tribute convoy arrival window confirmed." Vorn stood upright. "Launch timetable?" 6 hours. He nodded. "Prep all units. Begin visual conditioning phase." Lights across the vault dimmed as each pod filled with soft, multicolored projections, simulated sunsets, human laughter, lullabies. All fake. All calculated. Designed to imprint infantile peace before the storm hit. Dr. Senna frowned. "This is the part that makes it feel obscene." "That's the point," Bourne said, voice low and tight. "We give them everything they wanted on the surface. Smiling children. Obedient minds. No suspicion. No resistance. Just trust, until the moment they tear your temples down from the inside." He tapped his comms. "Bring up the auditory imprint test." Across the chamber, speakers activated. A child's voice rang out, innocent, curious, repeating a sing-song phrase. "Close your eyes, take my hand. Let me show you your own land. Count to 5 and touch the flame. Speak my name and change the game." Dr. Senna shuddered. "That's not a nursery rhyme. That's a coded directive." "That's poetry," Bourne corrected. "And war." Behind them, the floor vibrated slightly as the main hangar elevators began loading stasis pods into drop-capable shuttles. 100,000 units. 100,000 agents of collapse. Each pod marked with a seal, a child's handprint over a broken chain. A junior officer entered, sweating. "Sir, one of the beta clones in pod AO00912, he activated early." Vorn's head snapped around. "Define early." "He's conscious. Awake. Reading. He bypassed sedation. We're not sure how." "Take me to him," Bourne said. They reached the quarantine wing in moments. Pod 912 sat upright. Inside was a boy, perhaps 7, but with eyes so still they looked like ancient water. He didn't blink. He just stared at the observation window. When Vorn stepped into view, the boy smiled. "Hi," he said. "I've been waiting." Vorn paused. "Do you know who I am?" The boy nodded. "You're the architect. I'm the future. And what do you want?" The boy leaned forward, still inside the pod. "To go home." Vorn frowned. "Where's home?" The boy tapped his temple. "Wherever they're most afraid of me." Dr. Senna looked at the boy, stunned. "He's not following any activation script. He's self-aware." Vorn stared through the glass. The boy smiled wider. "I dream in broken languages," he said. "In one of them you scream," Vorn whispered. "This one, keep him awake. No sedation. I want him lucid during the entire trip." "That's against Council Tribute Protocol," Senna protested. "I don't care," Vorn snapped. "That one's the spearhead. Let him see everything. Let him learn their faces. He'll teach the others how to feel rage properly." Senna stepped back. "What are we sending them, Elias?" Vorn looked around the vault. The pods? The blinking lights. The illusion of innocence. "Not soldiers," he said. "Not citizens. Not even humans, really." He looked back at the boy and smiled coldly. "We're sending gods. Angry, abandoned, vengeful gods." And then he walked away as the launch countdown began. The first transmission came from Saturn, a council moon known for its temples carved into glass mountains, and its psionic priesthood. At exactly 4:03 Galactic Standard, every member of the High Order began screaming in unison. No alarms. No warning. Just blood-curdling howls that echoed across neural channels, shattering control systems and melting thought circuits. 17 priests clawed out their own minds with fingernails. The cause? One of the new tribute children had asked a question. Why do your gods need silence to exist? At first, the council dismissed it as an isolated anomaly. A single child misfiled, perhaps improperly conditioned. But within 48 hours, 3 more academies collapsed. On Th Kerith, a child handed a school instructor a drawing of a burning planet. In the background, it bore the symbol of the council inverted and carved into ash. When questioned, the child spoke calmly. It's tomorrow. I just remembered it early. On Vessel Prime, a clone led an entire class into the desert. They sang old Earth hymns, barefoot, until the sun blistered their alien skin. No one stopped them. The teachers joined in. The local governor tried to intervene, but his daughter, one of the tribute children, bit his throat out during breakfast, still humming. At the Terran Union observation station buried in the asteroid belt, Commander Elias Vorn watched the encrypted footage with the calm of a surgeon. On screen, a 7-year-old clone lectured a class of Zalzari hatchlings on the tactical disadvantages of empathy. They expected converts, Vorn muttered. They're getting missionaries. Colonel Drayle, his second-in-command, leaned forward. Council intelligence thinks this is a systemic AI corruption. They're blaming data leakage. Vorn turned to him slowly. That's not data. That's narrative warfare. They're not glitching. They're learning. The children aren't obeying instructions, they're rewriting them. Dr. Senna appeared on the holofeed, face pale. I warned you. Their mimetic programming was unstable. It's not unstable, Vorn said, eyes hard. It's perfect. The chaos isn't a side effect, it's the message. The payload wasn't the clones, it was contagion. Language. Myth. Instinct. She lowered her voice. There are reports of council citizens dreaming in English. They've never learned it. Dreams are just unsecured files, Vorn said. And we've cracked open their minds like libraries on fire. A new alert appeared on screen. Vorn opened it without hesitation. A broadcast from Jesh 9. Council governors lined up against a wall. In front of them, 5 children no older than 8. One spoke into the camera in flawless Zalzari, a language Vorn had dissected himself during his Black Ops linguistics years. We are the future you demanded, the child said. We have studied your rules. Now we offer you a better one, obey, or be rewritten. The screen cut out. Colonel Drayle ran a hand over his face. We've weaponized belief. This isn't war, it's an infection. Vorn's jaw tightened. Exactly. He tapped into the open council frequency. The channel was encrypted, monitored by trillions. Vorn didn't care. He spoke directly to them. You wanted our children. You wanted to mold them, purify them. We let you. But we taught them one thing you didn't understand. He leaned into the mic. We taught them to pretend. A pause. Then he uploaded a video file. 5 seconds of silent footage, a council education compound reduced to rubble, council banners replaced with a simple symbol, an open human eye. Below it, scrawled in blood or paint, the phrase, "We see now." Council command centers across 9 sectors initiated full lockdowns. Planetary firewalls activated. Security AIs tried to purge their systems of foreign code, only to discover the code wasn't foreign anymore. It had become part of the system. Embedded. Cultural. Viral. Council Elder Tieler, overseeing crisis management on Veritas Halo, demanded an emergency transmission with the Terran Union. Bring me Vorn. He hissed through his thoracic vents. Now. They connected. Vorn's face appeared on the council's central chamber screen, calm, aged, wearing the faintest ghost of a smile. Tieler's tendrils quivered with rage. You've broken the Treaty of Ascension. You've corrupted our youth. You've declared war. No, Vorn interrupted. You declared war the moment you demanded our blood and called it peace. You tricked us. These were supposed to be children. They are, Vorn said. But not yours. Not anymore. They're stories now. Living myths. Walking lies that believe in themselves so hard they make the truth shatter. Counselors whispered. Advisors panicked. Tiela tried to reassert control. This ends now. We will retaliate. We will reduce Earth to ash. Earth's gone, Vorn said, voice like a scalpel. Empty. Abandoned. We evacuated weeks ago. You'll find ruins and echoes. Our people? They've moved. Tiela narrowed his many eyes. Moved where? Vorn shrugged. Everywhere. He terminated the connection. On Jesh 9, the tribute children marched into the council barracks and replaced the anthem with a lullaby composed from ancient Terran war chants. On Saren, the high priests burned their own scrolls, weeping, unable to explain why. On Vessel Prime, children recited Earth's war crimes like holy scripture, and the people cheered. In the asteroid station, Vorn watched it all unfold with the detachment of a man who had already buried his soul. Colonel Drayle asked, "What happens when the clones grow up?" "They won't need to," Vorn said. He gestured to the star map. One by one, red council systems flickered to blue. Rebellions, coups, ideological resets. "They're not soldiers," he said. "They're seeds. And we just scattered a storm." In stasis chamber 912, the boy who had awakened early was already sketching something in charcoal. It was a map. And at its center, a single phrase in looping Earth script. "All empires burn. But some start with a spark." And the spark was already fire. The skies over Earth's old colonies were silent now. No trade convoys. No defense fleets. No pulse of life. Just the faint hum of atmospheric stabilizers keeping the terraformed worlds breathing like abandoned lungs. The Council's dreadnoughts arrived expecting resistance, expecting war. They found nothing. Veritas Halo's war table flickered with real-time telemetry. 12 Council warlords watched the screens in eerie silence as probes confirmed it. Earth had gone dark. The planets were stripped, stations hollowed, cities left intact but lifeless, museum pieces preserved for an audience that never showed up. Elder Tiela's claws tapped the polished obsidian table. "This is a trap." No one disagreed. "Have we identified any Terran defense patterns?" asked Overseer Cleth, her voice hushed like someone speaking in a cathedral built on bones. "No defenses," replied the intelligence core. "Only a single repeating signal from each orbital station." "Play it," Tiela ordered. The screen shimmered. Static. Then a message began looping in 24 Council languages. A child's voice, innocent, calm, unspeakably chilling. "You wanted our children. You now have 100,000 reasons to regret it." No threats. No ultimatums. Just the voice. Just the fact of it. On Jesh 9, riots consumed the high towers. Psionic governors collapsed under pressure from their own reprogrammed youth. Sectors were burning. Communications scrambled. The cultural code embedded in the clones had spread faster than even Vorn predicted. But the children had stopped following their original programming. They were evolving. Leading. Building. On Council worlds, monuments were torn down, not with explosives, but with belief. The tribute children weren't just destabilizing society, they were replacing it. Each clone had awakened with a different piece of Earth's past etched into them: philosophies, nightmares, speeches, revolutions. They weren't spreading war. They were spreading humanity. And it was working. Commander Elias Vorn stood in a deep space observatory beyond mapped Council borders. Behind him, a wall of monitors flickered, each tuned to a different system in crisis. The children had exceeded every prediction. Rebellions had become religions. Council citizens weren't resisting anymore. They were joining. Colonel Drayle entered the chamber, eyes locked on a datapad. "New update from Saren. The high cyanide dissolved itself voluntarily. They've declared the child leader AO00912 a prophet." Vorn didn't blink. "Good." Drayle hesitated. "They're calling him the voice of the flame. They say he doesn't speak much. Just watches. Draws symbols. Tells stories." Vorn allowed a hint of a smile. "That's all you need when the stories are stronger than bullets." Dr. Senna's image appeared on the central monitor, her face gaunt from sleepless nights. "We've underestimated the velocity of integration," she said. "Entire systems are reordering their educational paradigms around Earth mythology. They don't know they're being conquered." "That's because they're not," Vorn replied. "They're being rewritten." Senna leaned in. "What if we can't control them anymore? What if the children evolve past their root triggers? What if they become something else?" "They already have," he said. He turned toward the projection of a council map, now riddled with fractures. 12 sectors were blinking red, and more were turning hourly. The council was falling, not through war, but through conversion. "They tried to break us with demands," he said. "So we gave them exactly what they wanted. But we injected it with everything they never understood: grief, rage, history, fire." Drayle looked over his shoulder. "What if they turn on us next?" Vorn's eyes narrowed. "They won't." "Why not?" He nodded at the wall of screens. "Because we're the ones who gave them names." At that moment, a new transmission overrode the observatory feed. It was from Veritas Halo, the Council's sacred citadel, never breached in over 5 millennia. And now, the feed showed it burning. Not from bombs. From within. Children walked calmly through its crystal corridors, flanked by defected council guards. At the center of it all was AO00912, the boy from Pod 912, the first to awaken. Now taller. Older. Dressed in ceremonial robes of a council high speaker, repurposed and scorched. He stepped forward, facing the Citadel's central eye, an AI that had governed strategy and doctrine since before humans left Sol. "I am the story," the boy said. "I am the blood price." The AI blinked. "You are unauthorized. You are aberration." "No," the boy said. "I am inheritance." And with that, he placed his hand on the AI's interface. The system screamed as human myth overwrote alien law. The screen cut to black. Veritas Halo fell. Vorn lowered his head. A long breath escaped him, like a ghost released from his chest. Drayle whispered, "It's over." Vorn shook his head. "No. It's just begun." Back on the ruins of Earth, the message changed. No longer a looped child's voice. Now it was Vorn himself, pre-recorded. He stood in the old Martian war memorial, his voice grave and unflinching. "To those who watch from the stars, we are gone, yes. But we are not lost. We have scattered across the darkness like fire through dry leaves. You asked for obedience. We gave you imagination. You asked for children. We gave you revolution. We are humanity. You didn't defeat us. You invited us." And the feed cut out. In the silence that followed, council elders across hundreds of worlds faced the terrifying truth. The Terrans hadn't won a war. They had erased the very idea of being ruled. The tribute had been accepted. And the galaxy would never recover. The last surviving High Council meeting was not held in a marble hall or crystal chamber, but deep in the sublevels of a cargo vessel drifting near the edge of the Corn Rift. The galaxy had become too loud, too unpredictable. Too human. Elder TLR's mandibles clicked anxiously as he stared at the others. Only 5 remained. 5 out of the 12. The others had vanished. One had converted, one assassinated, the rest silenced by mobs that had once bowed in reverence. The tribute children were no longer children. They were architects now, builders of worlds not ruled by laws, but by stories. "They're dismantling everything," said Lady Krell, voice rasping. "Not just our systems. Our identity. Our myths are being rewritten in their image. They weren't even real humans," spat Tiela. "They were fabrications. Weapons. And yet," muttered another counselor, "the people chose them over us." Silence fell. Then the chamber lights flickered. Not a system fault. Not power loss. A signal. An arrival. A figure walked into the council chamber without ceremony or fear. Not a child. A man. Clad in black field gear, armored but unarmed, face half in shadow. His eyes burned like he had witnessed the end already and taken notes. The air thickened. Tiela stood. Identify yourself. I'm Elias Vorn, the man said calmly. Or what's left of him. That's impossible, Krell hissed. The real Elias Vorn died years ago. I did, Vorn said. At least, the version you expected. Krell pointed a trembling claw. You're a clone. Not quite, Vorn said, stepping forward. I'm what happens when you give a man a mission so personal it survives death. What you're looking at is memory sharpened into form. I am continuity. You engineered this, Tiela said, voice dropping. You started this war. I ended one, Vorn corrected. The one you've been waging with kindness coated in poison. You lied, Krell spat. You tricked us. No, Vorn said, expression unreadable. We gave you what you asked for. You demanded tribute. We delivered vision. You asked for the future. We handed it to you, sharper than you could grasp. The chambers shook faintly as the signal expanded. All across the galaxy, thousands of synchronized broadcasts activated. Vorn's image appeared in every system, every station, every world still tethered to council frequencies. His voice filled the stars. Listen carefully, he said. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm not here to forgive. I'm here to make it clear, this galaxy is not yours anymore. It never was. You mistook dominance for destiny. You mistook silence for loyalty. And worst of all, you mistook humanity for weakness. The counselors watched helplessly as their own data feeds collapsed. Replaced by rewritten education logs, revised histories, newly sanctioned ideologies, all embedded with Earth's cultural virus. The myths of 12 species eroded under a tide of stories that glorified defiance, rebellion, and individuality. The children had become leaders. The followers had become fanatics. The virus wasn't in their blood, it was in their narrative. Vorn turned to Tiela. You could have left us alone, he said. But instead, you tried to domesticate us. You tried to civilize us in your image. He leaned closer. Instead, we made you ours. Tiela's voice trembled. If you destroy us, what replaces us? Chaos? No, Vorn said. Choice. Lady Krell slammed her fist against the table. You'll collapse the entire structure. There will be no order. Only fragmentation. Then let it fracture, Vorn said. Better a million voices singing different songs than one anthem strangling them all. Tiela's voice broke. Why come here? Why speak to us at all? Vorn paused. Then reached into his coat and produced a small metal cube. It bore the emblem of the council. Ancient. Sacred. A symbol of their unity. He placed it on the table. This is your legacy, he said. We're not going to destroy it. We're going to remember it. Study it. Learn from it. Not because it was right, but because it was wrong in a way we refuse to repeat. You're not human, Krell whispered. You're something else. Vorn smiled faintly. I'm what comes next. Behind him, the door slid open. A girl stepped in, 12 years old, skin like copper, eyes like war. She carried no weapon. Only a book. Leather-bound. Old. Earth script on the front. History begins again. Vorn looked to her. Ready? She nodded. To the council he said nothing more. He turned, walked out, and left them alone in the silence they had once demanded from the galaxy. One by one, the council members stood. No guards. No armies. Nothing left to command. As Vorn stepped onto his ship, he watched the last feed from the council vessel flicker and vanish. Are they going to surrender? The girl asked. No, he said. But they'll fade. Like all forgotten gods. And us? We won't be remembered as gods, Vorn said. We'll be remembered as the spark. The ship pulled away from the rift, heading into unknown space. Behind them, a galaxy tried to remember its own name. And ahead of them, blank canvas. History's final act had ended. Humanity had written the next one in fire. 4-0.